Hi, this is Mike Marino, and my practicum is located in Norfolk, Nebraska, at the Norfolk Veterans Home. I live in Norfolk, so it's a good combination for the two of us. The Norfolk Veterans Home is located in Norfolk on Benjamin Avenue, and their director is Mr. Jerry Eisenhower. The purpose of the Norfolk Veterans Home is to focus on the veterans' homes as on wellness, allowing people to live their lives to the fullest through different levels of care. They have a domiciliary care, or folks who can take care of themselves basically, but need a little bit of extra help from time to time. These folks are very capable, and many have vehicles. They come and go as they please. But if they do need help, there is a skilled nurse or a CNA that can provide help for them when needed. There are different wings or pods for the veterans home, and each one has a rising level of care in the spectrum of care. Everything from very limited care for those who are very capable, all the way to very skilled nursing care, as well as a locked facility for those with memory problems and difficulties, such as Alzheimer's. They want to ensure that no one elopes or leaves the facility without being properly cared for. What we find is that oftentimes an individual will be in that part of the nursing home, the veterans home, and once they're no longer mobile, maybe they can't walk anywhere so much without a wheelchair, that type of thing, they're then taken from that locked facility to a different place because again we don't want to seclude or treat people differently and keep them restricted. So if they're not an elopement risk, they're taken from the the secured portion and placed in a regular population once more. But again, a wide spectrum of care. The homes provide specialized services such as physical therapy and also recreational and religious services. The history of Norfolk Veterans Home, it begun in 1963 as an annex to the Grand Island Veterans Home. At that time, it was known as the Soldiers and Sailors Home, and there was one building at the State Regional Center located in Norfolk. In 1972, the name changed from the Soldiers and Sailors Home to Norfolk Veterans Home. An additional building was bought from the state hospital, so there were two buildings on the state hospital grounds that cared for veterans. And then finally, in 2001, the current location opened. If you look at that mural, each one of those individuals is a member from Northeast Nebraska. They took the pictures from local veterans and made a collage of different folks. And it's really a nice personal touch to Northeast Nebraska. The mission statement for the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services is helping people lead better lives. And then for the Norfolk Veterans Home, it's members living well. That did not come about through a focus group or through a long process. The director himself came up with that, and it's been adopted as the mission statement for Norfolk Veterans Homes. The services provided include domiciliary care. Again, that is very limited care. Many folks are able to do many things for themselves, so they don't need a lot. Skilled nursing care, again, rising on the spectrum. There's also specialized care and therapy for folks, as well as recreation and religious services. The branches of the Veterans Home, there are four, one of which is located in Norfolk, Nebraska, the other in Grand Island, Nebraska, Scottsbluff, and finally Bellevue. Eligibility to go into the Norfolk Veterans Home, all veterans who were on active duty, who were discharged with an honorable discharge, have the ability to ask for admission. They must also have lived in Nebraska for at least 2 years during their lifetime. The veterans must be disabled by reason of service, age, or otherwise unable to earn a livelihood, and receive part of their livelihood from public support. Spouses, widows, and widowers of veterans are also eligible. Finally, Gold Star mothers and fathers are also eligible. A Gold Star parent is an individual who has lost a son or daughter in combat. The fee structure is based on each individual's income and assets. Those who can are required to pay a part of their care cost, but there's no fixed charge. Long-term care insurance may also be utilized. So, funding sources for the Norfolk Veterans Home include the Veterans Administration. Many are receiving disability, and that income helps defray the expense of their stay at the Norfolk Veterans Home. Also, many have earned Social Security. Those benefits also may assist with the expenses. Third party insurance, like long term care insurance, may pay. And then finally, the member's own assets. We have many folks who are farmers and they still own their land and are renting it out. That income can also help defray expenses. The procedures to enter, one begins with the County Veteran Service Officer. Every county in Nebraska has a Veteran Service Officer whose sole job it is to help people access benefits through the Veterans Services, the VA, as well as the Department of Nebraska's Department of Veterans Benefits as well. Once they complete an application, they can choose which of the four in order they would like to join. And then finally, once it's endorsed by the Veteran Service Officer, it's sent to the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs for review. That includes looking over the statutory eligibility and completeness of the application. Also, they cannot have a felony criminal history nor a sex offender history. All of the final applications are subject to approval by the Veterans Home Board. Looking at a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the federal and VA regulations change on a constant basis, so the Norfolk Veterans Home has to constantly be aware of that. Sometimes those regulations put forth by the federal government for long-term care facilities may conflict with long-term care facilities from the VA. They ought be in concert, but sometimes the VA will fall behind. What the requirement then is to take the most stringent of the regulations in order to provide the best care for a vulnerable population of elderly. Also, one possible threat might be the possible move from the Department of Health and Human Services to the Veterans Affairs Department within the state of Nebraska. One opportunity and strength is that veterans have a special place in the hearts of many. He who was born in the battle, as Abraham Lincoln said, should also receive care. The agency that fits with the community, the Norfolk Veterans Home, has a wonderful relationship with Norfolk. It's very, very positive. Norfolk Veterans Home works with Northeast Community College, which is located across the street. There is a nursing college there, and oftentimes the students will come for internships and practicums and be able to join the folks at the Veterans Home, provide care, and also learn. It's a very symbiotic relationship. Also, FRHS, Faith Regional Health Services, is a local hospital. They also have a very strong relationship. The Veterans Administration and the CBOC, we have a community-based outreach clinic here in Norfolk. And finally, Norfolk sees the Veterans Home as a feather in the cap, a point of pride for our community. For an eco-map to see what other organizations we have relationships with, we'll start at the bottom at Faith Regional. Again, the medical care for elderly, there is a great need for it, and Faith Regional has a wonderful relationship with Norfolk Veterans Home. The Social Security Administration also, again, is a source of income for many of our folks that helps defray expenses. Also, third-party insurance, such as Blue Cross Blue Shield, also has a connection, but at this point, due to different changes in healthcare coverage, that could be a weak connection. We also work with the Northeast Nebraska Area Agency on Aging, and those folks make sure that the elderly have a voice. As I mentioned earlier, Norfolk has a tremendous relationship with the Veterans Home. AseraCare Hospice, there's also a hospice from Faith Regional. For those folks at end of life, that service is invaluable. Again, the Department of Veterans Affairs is also a very strong, we have a very strong relationship with the VA. But quite frankly, right now we're part of the state of Nebraska, which is a very strong connection, as well as a stressful connection. When the budgetary woes of Nebraska hit, it hits the veterans home very difficult in a very difficult manner. Well, hope you've enjoyed this and learned a bit more about the Norfolk Veterans Home. I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you very much.